Okay, so welcome here. This is the time to start. We are a few of us, but maybe some other people will be joining in a few minutes. First of all, thank you for being here. And as I think I told you that this is the first alumni cafe that is taking place this year, this academic year, and with the aim to create networks and to share professional experiences from other alumni. Today, as you see, we have Stella Mally. She's an MIR graduate from the 2007 and 8 cohort, and she will talk about social impact and entrepreneurship. So thank you for being, I mean, this, I have to tell you that this webinar is being recorded, so, and we will include it on our web at eBay and on our web. So if you don't want your image to be shown in the video, in the recording, please just turn off your camera, whatever. So she will be, Stella will be talking for a few minutes. I mean, it will be like a presentation, and then we'll start the debate as if we were taking a cafe, just like informal cafe, and just talking about the professional challenges that we have all together. So thank you for being here again, and I give the floor to Stella.
Thank you so much, Berta, for the inviting me, and thank you, participants, for connecting at this time of the day. I think that many things happened already, so it's a pleasure being together now. And I will share my screen because I prepared just a little presentation. I hope you can see it. Yes, perfect. Okay, so today I was asked to talk a little bit about myself and about my career path, and also to do it somehow through a topic, and I've chosen the one of social entrepreneurship. And you will realize why just in a few minutes. So this picture, I want to start with this picture. It was taken a few weeks ago during a presentation, and I was just raising a question to the audience, and I want to retake that question today for our session. And this question was, why do we do what we do? Because I think that when trying to define ourselves, the why is actually much more significant than the what. So why we do what we do, and not only what do we do. Let me talk just a few minutes about my what. So I am a consultant. I'm providing advice to different types of organizations on gender equality, on diversity, on inclusion, and also helping them to achieve social impact, mostly through projects and also through fundraising and other sort of activities. How do I get there? Well, I graduated in law and later on studied international relations here at eBay. And after some experiences, previous experiences, in 2009, I started working as an international project manager for a regional organization of business women associations, which was AFAM. And I have to say that age 20 something, I always felt as having had the same opportunities as men in my life and men around me. And it was not until starting with this position that I realized that things were not exactly like this. And I started actually sometimes in a very hard way, experiencing real discrimination at the professional level. I was a young woman in a leadership position, and sometimes in very male-dominated environments, such as, for example, chambers of commerce and similar ones. No, and this is how I become more and more passionate about gender equality and about women empowerment. So it was sort of a gradual evolution. And at this experience in AFAM, which was the Association of Organizations of Mediterranean Businesswomen, we worked a lot on motivating and supporting, especially young women, in starting their own businesses. As an organization active in the Mediterranean region, where youth unemployment is quite high, it's one of our main goals. And we also support organizations in improve equality more at the company level, and we were obviously also supporting already consolidated businesses run by women. But through this work of motivating and mentoring young entrepreneurs, I started feeling that entrepreneurship could be something interesting for me as well. So I was so into it that at one point I started thinking, well, I'm seeing this transformation in so many young women, so this is something that could happen to me as well, right? And in one of the European projects we were involved in, I met Sally, Nicoletta, and Julia, which were, well, they were leaders, representatives, the other organizations involved in this European project. And what started as work relation really evolved into true friendship. And Sally, you see her in the picture on the above with the necklace and the glass. She became and still is my mentor. And she also started seeding and feeding the idea of a common project, of a common entrepreneurial project. And this is how in 2017, women's economy started. And it started as a social enterprise in which part of the income made through the provision of consultancy to mostly companies, but also other types of organizations, was aimed at being spent actually in our own projects related to supporting more disadvantaged women. So we really, it's not that we came up with this idea because this is part of the concept of social entrepreneurship, but we all came from a non-profit context and from a European project context. And we had to realize very often that some very interesting and potentially very impactful projects didn't end having this impact because funding just stopped or funding was cut, and we always saw that you were sort of dependent, no? And this is how we thought, if we really want to make a change and an impact, especially in the lives of girls and women, we can have our own projects funded through our own service provision. And this was the whole concept of women's economy. And that same year, also 2017, I started with two other friends here in Barcelona, also Share and Grow. It is another business aimed mainly at helping companies in achieving and realizing social impact projects and also obtaining the necessary funding for this project. And I'm involved there together with Brunella, and I was involved also with Julia, who unfortunately passed away this year. But yes, this would be my what and the how, no, what I'm doing and how do I get there. But where I want to arrive is to the why. And when thinking about my entire career and also my, let's say, educational and my training choices, now I really feel that it is almost always related justice, equal opportunities, and to having an impact and to achieve some sort of transformation. And first, at the Regional Businesswomen Association, I was achieving this through a non-profit, let's say, no? Now I'm actually doing the same, but while also generating profit. And it took me some time to see the opportunity, no? That it can also do some good while I'm making actually profit. And nowadays it is much more common, and we hear much more about social entrepreneurship. We have all these B Corps, we have almost every company doing something related to the Sustainable Development Goals, even though sometimes it's just marketing, but they do something. So even this evolved, still there is some, let's say, lack of understanding and also of lack of regulation related to social entrepreneurship. In fact, here in Spain, there was a proposal to have the Sociedad de Interés General, which would be like a social enterprise formally, but this is something that never happened. So here in Spain, you still have to decide if you want to be just a business, or if you want to be a cooperative or an NGO, for example. So let me just talk a little bit more about social entrepreneurship, where I'm into right now with women's economy and also with Share and Grow a little bit. Social entrepreneurship is just one of many models to achieve social impact through business, because it's not the only one. For example, the person who invented the printing press made printed material available to the masses, and this had as an impact a raise of literacy. So it was a social impact through business, because the invention of the printing press generated also business, but it was not social entrepreneurship. So if we want to define social entrepreneurship, like the very simple definition would be the business with a cause. And if we go more into the detail, we just see that as a social enterprise, we have, or we could say we have two missions, or we have one mission with two parts. One is the social impact, and one is really being profitable. And if we want to have an impact through social entrepreneurship, because we can have the idea of business with a cause, and we can have the social impact in our mission, but actually, in order to achieve really the social impact, we need to go through this process of 4 stages. So first, we need to understand it, or at least trying to understand the world. So being curious about understanding the world. And when I say the world, it's obviously the sector in which we are providing our services. And then we have to envision a new future within this sector. And we have to build a sustainable model for change. And if this model is successful, then we can potentially really have an impact. So this is sort of the evolution, the necessary evolution. And for example, at Women's Economy, so we are at stage 3 and starting to have, after all this year, an evolution into stage 4, because we have some keys for real sustainability. So this is something very important to keep in mind. And another issue that I wanted to just briefly say is that only this might not be enough. It's also important to scale and to collaborate if we want to become a successful and an impactful social business. And with scaling, I mean scaling the solution that we offer in terms of profit. So in the strict business term, or having a model that we can replicate and adapt to suit a social problem elsewhere in the world. So this is now both meanings of scaling. And another very important element that actually research about social entrepreneurship, about impactful social entrepreneurship says us, is that we need to be collaborative. So a few years ago, there was still this idea that as a social enterprise, we are competing with actually, let's say, regular businesses. And this is not the idea anymore. And it is not very positive. So actually, if we want to make a difference, if we want to make an impact, to have an impact, we should looking for partnering with other businesses, with public administration, non-profit, and so on. And I couldn't talk about social entrepreneurship without mentioning women. So what about women and social entrepreneurship? Well, despite women being historically very involved in social economy, if we want to use the broader term, there are still very few gender disaggregated data about women in social entrepreneurship. But these few data that we have seems to tell us that we actually have more women in social entrepreneurship, so in already running businesses, but social enterprises, than in the regular enterprises. And we have more women in the boards of social enterprises than in boards of regular enterprises. I don't want to start talking about the reasons of this because it's very complex, but maybe we can chat a little bit later because it is super interesting. But other two elements of information that we have from research about women in social entrepreneurship is that women social entrepreneurs are more likely to engage in participatory management rather than top-down ways of working and of having impact. And they are more innovative than male social entrepreneurs in terms of new market creation. And what is troubling about women in social entrepreneurship, so the not so positive data, are that social entrepreneurship still portrays women in a very stereotypical way as helpers of the community, rather than, how to say, yes, rather than really business-oriented founders as they are, right? So this is dangerous because some women social entrepreneurs could actually internalize these stereotypes and perpetuate them. And this is something already happening. And I have to say that this concept of running a social enterprise as a woman, it is true that sometimes you are seen as a person just doing good and doing charity. And therefore, when you act like a business leader and like a businesswoman, some people react in a quite shocking way. So this is still happening sometimes. And the second negative data about women in social entrepreneurship is that there is a quite big pay gap. So in many countries, research has found that women pay themselves around 23% less than men for running this sort of businesses. So this is just a curiosity about it. And all this, which I was just, all this idea that I was just launching in this, how many minutes? I think like 20 minutes in order to be on time, was actually just to say you that career is not always straight, as you might know, and that actually finding our why, so being maybe less focused on the what and on the how, but focusing on the true why of our choices, will somehow guide us, no? And having, at least for me, having this clear purpose also helped me when taking difficult decisions. And yes, while now my why is super clear, and now this is how I achieve this why, you never know what might happen in the future, no? So my end words are just that I suggest you, and I really invite you to find your why and to think out of the box for achieving it, because sometimes the standard solution is not the only one.